Hi, this is Rabbi Chaim Kaufman. Welcome to our 66th installment of the Torah portion of the week. We're holding by Parshas Shemos, and these parshas now talk about the Jewish people going down to Egypt. They're already there because of the story with Yosef and the brothers, and Yaakov and the rest of the Jewish people come down to Egypt, and then to get to Egypt, they forget about Yosef, they forget about the brothers, forget about all the things that Yosef did. And in the end, they get enslaved. And so then God is going to take them out with a mighty hand. He's going to do miracles. It's the birth of Moshe Rabbeinu and the burning bush. There's quite a bit in this parsha, but I think there's a fascinating thing at the beginning, which we'll speak about. It's chapter 1, verse 16. And the Torah says, or we'll start with 15. It says, the king of Egypt said to the Hebrew midwives, of whom the name of the first one was Shifra, the name of the second one was Puah. And he said, this is our verse, when you deliver the Hebrew women and you see them on the birth stool, if it be a son, if it's a son, you are to kill him. If it's a daughter, she shall live. So what does the Torah tell us? The Torah tells us that the midwives are commanded that when the Jewish women give birth, if they have a son, kill him. If you have a daughter, she can live. So, what does Pharaoh want? He wants to minimize the amount of Jews that are there. There are no males. Well, can't have any children. This is biology. Biology 101. He also saw through his astrologers that someone was going to come through from the water and save the Jewish people. So he said they should be killed. So, it's an interesting thing going on here. One thing is that Pharaoh, as my Rebbe here points out, says, Rav Agon Ramosh Sternbuch Shlita, should be well. He says in Chochmah V'das, he says that Pharaoh wants these children to be killed even before they're born. Right? Even if they are still really not considered a full entity, right? Kill them, before they're born. Now, Pharaoh himself was considered like a god, so he didn't want the people to see him as being cruel. So what did he do? He tries to hide his cruelty by saying that, okay, don't kill, these Jewish children when they're born. Kill them before. Because what's going on? Each woman, as is brought down, gives birth to 6 children. Right? So the Jewish people are going to populate very quickly. And what was the reasoning behind killing these children? Because if God forbid there be a war, and someone would fight against the Egyptians, here you have a very strong minority, soon to be majority, in Egypt that may fight with the other side. So we're going to wipe them out. So what did he say? So he said that if they have too many kids, it's going to be bad for us. So he says, kill these children before they're born. Right, so even today, and maybe we'll get into it a little bit, even today they'll say, okay, it's not so cruel. Right, if a woman has an abortion, the child's not born. Right, not even an entity. Depends how you look at what an entity is. From a Jewish perspective, nonetheless, people say that, okay, it's not cruel. If the kid's 5 months old, 6 months old, and you have an abortion, that's already, it's considered an entity for sure. Right? So this isn't as cruel. So, what is the purpose here? The purpose is Pharaoh doesn't want to show he's cruel. So therefore, if he tells them, kill the children before they're born, he doesn't look so bad. I mean, okay, the decree is bad, but he's not telling them to kill him outright. Right here, here's the baby, kill it. I don't care, it's 5 days old, a week old, kill it. Right, all right, that sounds to be more cruel. But in their crooked way of thinking, they'll say, if I kill it when it's not born, that's not cruel. Right, he's trying to show he's not cruel. So he thought mistakenly. Right? Pharaoh thought that the women, the midwives, would do what he wanted in order to, have less children, right? Because if you have more children, they're more of a burden. And how can society take so many kids? Right? It's going to be a tremendous burden. That's what they'll say today. Right? By Orthodox Jews, look how many kids they have. Look how terrible it is. Can't even control any of them. How could two people be in charge of 5 kids, 6 kids, 8 kids? That's unheard of. So things haven't changed all that much. They're not going to say, well, you should kill them. Right? That would be cruel. They'll say, don't have them. Right? Have less. Because it's going to create havoc in society. Now, this, Ma'arvi points out, and this is really what I want to get at, is he compares this to what happened to King Saul, to Shaul HaMelech, right? He was captured, right? He's captured by the Philistines, and he's afraid. He's afraid he's going to suffer. He's afraid he's going to suffer at their hands. Therefore, he asked somebody, a child, to kill him. As it's brought down in Samuel 1, chapter 31. You can look over there, the whole story. Right, what happens? But he tells the child to kill him. Why? Because he's afraid he won't be able to withstand the suffering he's going to get at the hands of these people. So it's brought down, Beis Yosef, Rav Yosef Karo, Torah giant, the 1700s, who codified Jewish law, Shulchan Aruch. So he brings down the verse in chapter 9, verse 5 in Genesis. It says, that which your blood will be spilled, I will go after the person who does it. In other words, you don't have to kill. Somebody who's killed, you don't have to worry. God is going to take care of them. So it says over there, Ach es damchem l'nafsho seichem edrosh. What is the word ach? Like thus, or it will be. This blood I will demand. So the rabbis learn out, as Beis Yosef points out, he says that Beis Yosef was a commentary of Rav Yosef Karo. So he brings out that this word ach means thus I'm going to demand their blood. It's coming to exclude what happened to Saul. Right? What happened to King Shaul. Why? Because if the intention was to save himself from terrible suffering, which he didn't think he'd be able to withstand, so then the person killing him is not a murderer. And it would be permissible in such a case. Because he's afraid he won't be able to withstand the suffering. So what does the Beis Yosef learn? So the Beis Yosef learns that if a person is afraid they can't take suffering, seemingly he seems to say that they should be able to be killed. Because they won't be able to withstand it. Now, that's the way it would seem. According to the case of King Saul, so it would seem this case is permissible. That he's allowed to have someone kill him because he's afraid he won't be able to withstand. He won't be able to withstand the punishment. Says the Beis Yosef, not true. What Saul did was wrong. Shouldn't have done it. Right? Should have had someone kill him. Right? We'll see by King David. King David kills the one who killed him, but he was commanded by Saul to do it. So we'll see how this works. So what was the issue? What was the issue? One of the commentaries points out that what was Saul afraid of? He's captured. Right? King of the Jewish people is captured. He's afraid that the Jewish people are going to fight tooth and nail in order to save him. And then many Jews are going to get killed. Now, the only problem with that is that when he spoke to Samuel the prophet told him he's going to die. Right? He said, tomorrow you and your children, they're all going to die. They'll be with me. Right? They'll be with me in the next world. So, he knows he's going to die. If he knows he's going to die, so he says, better I get killed. Right? To kill himself, really. Because what does he do? He jumps on the sword and then this person kills him. Better I die than hundreds or thousands of Jews be killed. So he thought that he was the crowned one of God, right? The Messiah, so to speak. And it was a desecration of God's name if he's killed by non-Jews. And that he wouldn't be able to withstand the suffering he's going to go through. Be a tremendous desecration of God's name. So therefore, he thought it was permissible to kill himself. So another one of the commentators says that what was he worried about? He's worried about, as we mentioned, he won't be able to stand up to the punishment, to the suffering he's going to go through. That they're going to do. And then he may be weak. And he may transgress God's Torah. As being the king of the Jews, that's going to be bad. Tremendously bad. So, he kills himself. Seemingly. But Maravir points out, these are nice explanations, but it doesn't answer the question at hand. Why? Because this child that's in the mother's stomach, all things being equal, is healthy. Right? The child is healthy. It's complete. It's whole. Nothing wrong. But shortly, it's going to be killed. So, what do we have here? You want to say you have a child that's basically ready to die. Right? However far along it is, doesn't matter. Right? It's ready to die. So even if you kill it, though, and it's a live entity, so you also get killed. That's murder. Right? So within Judaism, we'll just harp on this for a second. Within Judaism, even if you kill the baby inside, if it's after 40 days, which we hold, the rabbis tell us, that's like a living entity. So, if you kill a living entity, that's murder. Again, doesn't matter if it's 40 days, doesn't matter if it's a week, it doesn't matter if it's, a month, or however far along. At the very least, within 40 days, that's murder. Right? It's considered by us a living entity. If the child would put the mother's life in danger, so then you kill the child to save the mother. See, by the Christians, just the opposite. You save the mother, kill the child. What's the difference? So, we look at saving the mother as someone is not just living potential, they're alive. Right? They are alive. Now, they are keeping mitzvahs or not keeping mitzvahs, but they have the potential to do what they're doing, i.e. keeping mitzvahs. This child, right, if it's causing a danger to the mother, you don't go after future potential. You go after what we have right now. And that is a live woman. Christians say no. Go after future potential. Right? You kill the mother to save the child. Right? Judaism doesn't hold that. So for us, it doesn't matter whether if it's after 40 days, that's murder. And we look at it no difference. Killing a child, killing someone on a respirator, euthanasia when it's permissible to be on a respirator. And if you pull the plug, that's murder. Right? No difference. Whether you kill someone as a baby not born, or whether you pull the plug, or whether you shoot someone in the head. That's murder. And that, the Torah says, God says, I'm going to repay that blood. You kill someone, you're in trouble. Right? You yourself, I'm going to demand your blood. However he demands it, doesn't matter. That person's a goner. Total goner. He's just lacking burial, just a matter of time. So Rebbe says it's totally two different things. Right? Saul falling on his sword and had someone finish him up. He's afraid either, he's not going to be able to withstand the punishment. Right, according to one opinion. Or he's afraid the Jewish people come and try and save him. And thousands of Jews may be killed. So he says, better I die than all these other people. Or better I die and not have to withstand the punishment I may go through. And as a Jewish king, that's going to look really bad. Right, I may transgress God's Torah. So, Rebbe says that's not so comparable as we mentioned. Now, let's take it further. What about this person that killed Saul? David HaMelech kills him. King David kills him. Even though, what did this person do? He went according to what King Saul told him. King Saul says, kill me. And he kills him. So why does David kill him? That's one thing. Another thing is that this person was a person from the tribe of Amalek, right? The Amalekites, right? Mr. Haman comes from, or Haman, right? Comes from the Amalekites, right? In the book of Esther. So there's another issue. We don't accept converts from the Amalekites. So it says there was an Amalekite. It was a convert that killed him. And that King David killed him. So what happens though? So if he's not acceptable as a convert, what is he? What's his status? He's a non-Jew. Right? Any non-Jew in the process doesn't convert. They still have the status of a non-Jew. Doesn't matter what's in your heart. Right? No offense to anyone, who thinks I'm Jewish in my heart. You may be. Your soul might have got messed up on Mount Sinai. Right? That's anyone who converts. That's certainly the case. Their souls on Mount Sinai got messed up. But if you don't convert, it doesn't matter what's in your heart. Right? How many times have I been told, God knows what's in my heart? Yeah, He does. Question is, does that matter? Like my Rebbe will always say, did they go to the mikveh? Right? Was there a basin? Was there a biblical court there? Anyone saw him go in? Did they go for a swim, rubber ducky, everything? No. Right? Let's ask it again. Did they go in or not? No. If they didn't go in, they're not Jewish. Yeah, it's a technicality. It didn't happen. But God knows what's in my heart. Either you're pregnant or you're not pregnant. Nothing in between. Can't be a little bit pregnant. Right? So, you're partially Jewish. Because, you kept a lot of mitzvahs even though you weren't commanded to do it. So that makes you more Jewish? I don't know. People may get offended by that, but that's the reality. Right? Go back to the example of being a pregnant woman. Are you pregnant? No. Right? If you're not pregnant, you're not pregnant. If you are, you are. Nothing in between. So then the question is, if he's a non-Jew, right? You have to say he's a non-Jew because we don't accept the Amalekites. An Amalekite converted. Amalekites are not allowed to convert. But they converted, so they're Jewish. So the answer is they're not Jewish. Right? Amalekites are not allowed to convert. So therefore, he's a non-Jew. And if he kills a non-Jew who admits that they kill someone, so they can be killed, their own admission can kill them. So David kills him. Right? David kills him. Not only that, but I see that David is happy, that the people are happy that Saul dies, because they say he wasn't fitting to be king. and that really David was supposed to be king. I mean, he was king first, and David took over. But the people were happy. They were happy he wasn't king anymore. So, therefore, David commanded, as a temporary measure, commanded to kill this Amalekite, right, who was a non-Jew, he can't convert, he's a non-Jew. And everyone should know that, King Saul is God's anointed one, and therefore it's a desecration of God's name. So what did David say? King David understood that there's a problem. The problem is, whatever the reason, King Saul wanted to do this, and he has this Amalekite kill him. So technically speaking, he's worthy of death. He admitted himself he killed him. So when it comes to murder, the no-hide laws, if you admit you've murdered someone, so you admit you transgressed, you killed. That's it, you get killed. But there's another reason going on here. Since he was the anointed one of God, why does he kill him? Because it's desecration of God's name. Even if you tell me King Saul deserved to be killed, right, which may be true, even if it's true, the one who killed him is desecration of God's name. So therefore, since it's desecration of God's name, he deserves to die. Right, that's what King David thought. So, here you see, right, there are a few things, actually I want to pull out from this, we'll go back to Pharaoh in a second, and that is, that there are two opinions that are brought down if a person, let's say, kills themselves because, they're going through a difficult time. Let's say they have a terminal illness, and because of that terminal illness, they don't want to suffer anymore. So they, up the morphine, to the extent that it kills them, or they do something that ends up killing them. So there are two opinions. One opinion is, famous opinion of the Rambam, Maimonides says, you kill yourself, even if you don't want to suffer more, that's called suicide. Suicide, ein lo chelek l'olam haba. You don't have a portion of the world to come. You don't get up at resurrection, and God is going to punish you severely. So says the Rambam. Come on, the Bali Tosfos, the great rabbis of France, who are on the side of one side of the page of the Talmud, other side is Rashi. A lot of times they either expand on Rashi or disagree with Rashi. The Bali Tosfos say, no, if a person gave up his life where he didn't have to, let's say they didn't want to suffer anymore in this case, didn't have to give up his life, chose to give up his life. According to the Bali Tosfos, that's not murder. Right? It's not murder because they didn't want to suffer. And because the person was going such a difficult time, in this case, let's say they had a terminal disease, and the suffering was tremendous, so that's not called suicide. So, we hold, as Judaism holds, if a person, let's make clear, if a person decides that they're going to suffer so much, and they don't want to suffer, and they don't take medication. They don't take medication to prolong their life. All right, they can't openly kill themselves. I want to make that clear. But let's say they withhold medication. If they had medication, they can live longer. Maybe a week longer, 2 weeks longer, a month longer, whatever it is. But they don't want to suffer. So that's not called suicide. So I remember somebody that many years ago had a kidney transplant. And everything was fine, and then the kidney started to malfunction, and they weren't able to be a recipient. It could be the body was too weak, other factors. They weren't a recipient, couldn't have been a recipient for a new kidney. So they had a choice. They could live on dialysis. Now dialysis, extremely painful. and also, you're hooked up to a machine for many hours, number of times a week. It's really not pleasant. People will say that's not quality of life. Could be. Right? I'm not coming to argue. Right? I want to point out this following case. So the person decided, I don't want to live life like that. They didn't want to live life like that. And they said, I'm not going on dialysis. Now, what happens if you don't go on dialysis? If you don't go on dialysis and take out all these toxins from your body, you're going to die. Right? It's just only a matter of when. A couple months, tops, you're going to die. So what does this person do? This person said, I don't care. I'll live till the end. These last few months. But I am not going to go on dialysis. So what happened? They died. Right? Very simple biological equation. Your kidney doesn't function. You don't get the toxins out of your body. You die. Right? It's pretty clear. So, in this case, that's not called suicide. Why? They withheld treatment in order that they didn't want to suffer more. Now again, that's different than giving yourself extra morphine and dying, right? That's direct. If you do something indirect, again, we're not talking like a killer machine like Mr. Kevorkian, you push a button, it's done. Right? Or you push a button, another button goes off, whatever, so it's not directly you. If it's directly you, there's nothing to talk about, it's forbidden. Even if it's indirect, still not allowed to put yourself in such a position. To withhold medication, or not to run after medication. So, again, there are two opinions. One opinion is the Rambam, that's suicide. According to the Bali Tosfos, it's not suicide. So we happen to hold like the Bali Tosfos. We hold that it's not called suicide. In such a case, you can't do it directly to yourself. So that being true, if a person's afraid they can't withhold, they're not going to be able to withstand the suffering. They don't want to suffer. Right? So, you just go off everything. And what's going to happen? If it's a terminal case, you'll die. Right? If you need certain medication, you don't go after it, you'll die. Person wants to starve to death, they can do that also. It's their choice, I guess. But they can't kill themselves directly. So now back to, so in that case, no one should ever have to go through any of this. But, people have to realize that, it is a severe thing. Right? Doing to yourself can certainly be murder. You kill yourself, that's murder. Not allowed to do that. Withholding treatment and then you die, that's indirect. That's not direct. There's a very fine line. People with terminal illness and go to hospice. Someone has cancer, let's say. The secondary cause of cancer is pneumonia. Right? And people are too weak to fight it. That's how they die, most of them. Some of them, whatever. The thing is, they are fed minimally in order to live. If they starve them to death, okay, then, tremendous malpractice. But they're given enough to live. They're given the minimal amount. If they get an infection, can they fight it? They're too weak. Right? They're not able to. So it's a very fine line, but it's not murder. It's indirect. Right? Otherwise, if it was more blunt, in many ways, yeah, you could sue them. That's murder, but it won't be such an easy thing to win because they say you're going to die anyway. So person was here a few extra days, a week, whatever. Right? It's certainly not pleasant. Let's just say that. So back to Mr. Pharaoh here. Right? We'll go back to Mr. Pharaoh. What did Pharaoh want? Pharaoh wanted to show he's not cruel. Right? He's not a cruel person. So if he kills them, if he tells the midwives, listen, kill them when they're babies inside. So a Jew that kills a child that's not born, right, shouldn't be liable. Right? We see that they are liable, but let's just say they're not liable. So he wanted them to be killed, right, at a time when they wouldn't be liable. So they can't complain and say, oh, look, the Torah says we're not allowed to do it. He says that's not true. Right, they're less than 40 days old, kill them. You're allowed to. Right, because if they kill them when it's born, or even through a non-Jew, even though he's still inside, person who kills him is liable, right, Jew or non-Jew. So according to the earlier ones that said, my Rebbe here points out, let's say that the child is causing danger to the mother, right? So we mentioned that. If the child is considered a danger, you're allowed to kill the child, right? You save the mother, you kill the child. If it's a danger to the mother and the mother won't survive. So you can't say, well, whose blood is redder? You don't know whose blood is redder, so you shouldn't be allowed to kill either one. Right, kind of like the case, two people in the desert, and there's only water for one of them. Say, well, I should get it. No, I should get it. Well, whose blood is redder? Right, whose blood is redder means you choose one over the other. Or, sorry, you don't choose one over the other. Because a fetus, is not a soul. It's not a person. Right, depending when, what stage. Therefore, if you kill that entity, we'll call it an entity. If you kill that entity, that's not called killing, right? It's not officially called killing. So therefore, you could say there's a place to say it's permissible, because at the end of the day, if it's not a real entity, again, depending on what stage, if it's not a real entity, what have I done? I've killed air. Right? Before 40 days, it's like water. It's like a watery substance. I kill anything? No. I didn't do anything. So according to that, it should be permissible. Right? It shouldn't be a problem. In order to save themselves. According to the Rambam, right, Maimonides says, you're only allowed to kill this fetus if this fetus is called a rodef. If the fetus is like chasing after the mother, it's putting the mother's life in danger, you're allowed to kill the child. Right? You have to kill the child. Because otherwise the mother will die. Right? So it's a choice. Again, within Judaism, if it's a choice between the mother and the child, you kill the child, not the mother. But if you didn't have that, let's say you didn't have that explanation, according to this, you'd have to say, let's say it's not even an entity, and you're allowed to desecrate Shabbos to save him. We're not allowed to kill him. Even, according to this, even if it's Pikuach Nefesh, even if it's life-threatening. So according to this, the midwives could have had that intention to save him, and it wouldn't be considered the child wouldn't be considered a rodef, one that is running after the mother, i.e., that is going to put the mother's life in danger. So this brings up, a question where, as we mentioned, Pharaoh wants them to kill in the most quote-unquote humane way possible. What's the most humane way? The most humane way is showing that this child's not an entity. And if it's not a living entity, I have a right to kill it, and it's permissible. Again, depending on what stage it's at. If not, it's murder. Right? So, according to the Rambam and others as well, the only permissibility to kill that child is if the mother's life's in danger. And at any stage you could do that. I mean, try and save both if you can. If you can't, the child dies. Right? Regardless of what stage. Because the mother's life is more important. You save the mother, you kill the child, save the mother. Right? If that's the only way to do it, that's what you have to do. But it brings up a fundamental question, and that is, And that is, does this act of cruelty, right? Does this act of cruelty make this permissible? So Pharaoh's trying to show he's ultra reasonable, right? Mr. Wicked Pharaoh himself. He's ultra reasonable. Listen, I understand according to your religion he wasn't stupid. He says, I understand that you can't kill a full body, right? A full entity. So kill it before. Then according to everybody, even according to your Torah, there won't be an issue. But they feared heaven. They said, no, we're not going to do that. And they said, listen, don't you know the Rambam? Okay, it's before the Rambam. Right? Well, they say, don't you know? You can only do that. We have an oral tradition. And that oral tradition says we're only allowed to do it if it puts the mother's life in danger. The mother's life in danger, that's murder. Right? That we're not allowed to do. So, we see a fascinating idea. And, this comes up more and more, unfortunately. And then I guess the whole question of sanctity of life. Or what is quality of life? So here Pharaoh's trying to wipe them out because he's afraid. Right? He says to his advisors, let us deal wisely with them because they're afraid. Jewish people are multiplying by leaps and bounds. Each woman is having 6 children in one shot. That's going to destroy them if anyone ever comes to war. They could join the other side. So he wants to be ultra reasonable. He says, fine, we'll kill the male. Well, to kill the male, you got no way females to, to get pregnant. That's, it's an impossibility. So, but he wants to do it in a way that is not being cruel. So this is the way to do it. This is what you have today. Where people say sanctity of life. And people will say, how can, Orthodox women or Orthodox families be so big? They're a burden to society. They're a burden to this, burden to that. How can 2 people ever watch over 10 kids or 7 kids and give each kid the time that they need to develop properly? You can say that about parents that have 2 kids or 1 kid. Same thing. Right? No difference. But they'll say it's an act of cruelty to bring these kids in the world. Right? To have so many children. So, how do we look at what life is? Or what we consider quality of life? According to some, quality of life, if I don't have it, so we put them out to pasture. We'll do what the Greeks did. Stick them on a mountain, stick the parents on a mountain, say, Mom, Dad, it's been real, had a good life, see you later. And they leave. Someone, even if they're going through suffering and we don't understand how these things work or what happens, but who gives us the right to take away life? Who gives us the right to say, this is not quality of life? May not be. That's what God wants. Maybe they have to suffer to get their portion in the world to come. Maybe. But who is man to decide that? I heard a story recently, someone suffered the last few years, of their life, suffered tremendously, recently died. They heard someone say, that's not life. Right? That's not life. So I wanted to say, that would actually be kind of cruel to say this. So, okay, you should have taken a gun and killed them. Why don't you just kill them? Not quality of life, kill them. My flesh and blood can't kill them, but, it's not a way to live. Right? I agree. It's not a way to live. And the body suffers. But that's all part of God's plan also. Is it better to suffer here than in the next world? Most likely. No one wants to go through suffering in the next world. So if we suffer here, all the more so. How much better it is, how much it benefits us. We have no idea. What I can tell you, though, is if someone is on a respirator and you pull the plug, and you're not allowed to pull the plug, and let's say you're not allowed to take them off for whatever reason, and you pull the plug, that's murder. Right? If they can't live without being on a respirator, okay, that's not life. right? You can see if they're only breathing because of the respirator, okay, that's artificial. So you need a big rabbi to tell you that's permissible or it's not permissible. I'm just giving a general outline. But you'll say, listen, the person's not there. They're suffering. So, take them out of the misery. Right? We'll totally take them out of their misery. That's not quality of life. So my answer to that is, who are you? I don't care if you have a 250 IQ. I don't care, you're the next Einstein. Who gives you the right to take life? God says, as we mentioned in Genesis chapter 9, you take away life, your blood is on your hands. That's murder. Doesn't matter. You pull someone's pacemaker and they die in 6 hours instead of 10 hours. That's murder. You pull the plug on someone, you might as well shoot them in the head. No difference. But you want to play God. Oh, this person suffered tremendously. Do you have any idea? Any idea what they possibly could be going through? So I heard a first-person account. I've told the story before. It's a good story. Person was in a coma, hooked up to a respirator. Children came, decided, pull the plug. Doctor pulls the plug. Patient dies. What happens? Patient comes back to this doctor, says, you murderer, you killed me. I hope you have nightmares tonight. You murdered me, you killed me. I had another few days. I would have gone straight into paradise. I was supposed to suffer a little bit more, and now I'm suffering, in Gehenna, in hell, and I have to pay for this. You murdered me. And this guy, woke up in a sweat. He was, totally shocked. Here he's doing what the people wanted. And here the soul comes back to him and says, you murdered me. I was just sitting there for a few more days. Eventually, this doctor became a Choser B'tshuva, came back to Judaism. Became an Orthodox Jew. I mean, that could scare the wits out of anybody, right? He understood there's punishment. There's reward and punishment. Usually someone sitting on the respirator, lying there, artificially living. We're not allowed to take them off. You take them off, that's murder. So you think you're doing a good thing, or whoever does it is thinking they're doing a good thing, and this is this person's Olam Haba. They're going to get their portion in the next world, based on how much they suffer now. Yeah, we should be whistling Dixie to get more suffering. We don't want it. But in this case, you're looking at somebody and say, well, he's got no quality of life. You pull the plug and say, oh, he's much happier. You think so? In a case where it's forbidden? Right? Replay the video of the story we just told. That person's Olam Haba was sitting in his hands, and someone just took it away. Right? They shortened it. Whatever happened. This person understood there's a lot more of what we see than what we really see. Next time any of you want to pull the plug, think twice. Because the repercussions you can't even imagine. So these midwives had fear of heaven. And they said, we're not going to kill. We're not going to kill these children. Even if you don't think they're entities. Right? You're only allowed to do that if you endanger the mother. That's it. Gives me a right to take life. God tells us what life is. The Torah tells us what it is. We're not playing God. Doctors play God. And they think they know. And there's plenty of things doctors don't know. That's why the Talmud says, Tov sheberofim begehenim. Even the best of doctors go to hell. Why? One reason is because they think they're God themselves. And they're totally conceited. Oh, I don't need God. I am God. I do this. I save people. This, that. Commentaries say on the spot. That's the reason. There could be other reasons also. But they're totally conceited. No offense to any doctors that aren't conceited and have fear of heaven. Most of them don't. Most of them think they're in control. Right, there's a story. There's a story of an Orthodox Jew takes his daughter to the specialist, and the specialist says, yes, I can help, I can save your daughter. And the specialist, and the person said, Bezrat Hashem, with God's help. So the Jewish doctor says, what do you mean God's help? I'm the expert. I'm the specialist. He says, without me, your child will die. So this person told the doctor to take that back. Take back what you just said. He says, I'm not taking that back. I totally believe it. And all this and all that. So he says, fine, I'm not going to you. He says, your child will die. Don't be stupid. So this conceited doctor, says, all right, this child will die, not my problem. So what does he do? He has a conference, goes to this conference, and he's like one of the guest speakers in the conference. Gets up to speak. In the middle of speaking, what happens? You know what they say? You gotta go, you gotta go. Guy had to run out, total embarrassment. Take care of what he needed to take care of, and then come back. So after this, he realized he can't even control his bodily functions. Yeah, Mr. Conceited with a big C comes back to the Orthodox Jew. He says, no problem, I'll take care of it, with God's help. So the Orthodox Jew asked him what happened. He told him the story. He says, here I think I'm in control. I am the only one who can save your daughter. I have this expertise. That may be true. I have this expertise. At the same time, though, as much as I said, I'm the one doing it, I'm the one in control, that's not true. You know why it's not true? So he tells him the story. And he says, I think I'm in control. I was in the auditorium, hundreds of people, hundreds of my colleagues, and I couldn't even control my own bodily functions. You got the point. Right? So, we shouldn't think, any doctors out there shouldn't think they're in control. They're given the ability to help. But at the end of the day, God's the one who's in control. God is the one, that runs things. I also want to mention I have a class every Tuesday night in Derech Hashem, the Way of God. Intro to Kabbalah, speaking about spiritual influences and how they work. Every Tuesday night, 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock Eastern time. I also give conversion classes, Noahide classes. Take a look at my Facebook fan page, Beyond Orthodox Conversion in Judaism, or Beyond Noahides. I also have a blog, orthodoxconversion.com. You can take a look at my YouTube page, or my YouTube channel, actually, Rabbi Chaim Kaufman, ChaimCoffman, or on Tanakh Talk, TENAK. TALK. You can see videos there. My work with converts, Noahides, also controversial issues, which hit a lot of different things on reincarnation, homosexuality. I do that show every Wednesday night, 8 o'clock Central Time. You can go to TanakhTalk.com or to Tanakh Talk on YouTube. And anyone who wants to contact me can contact me at rabbichaimkaufman@gmail.com. RABBICHAIMCOFFMAN @gmail.com. Everyone have a great Shabbos.